welcome to season 21 of Fragments of Silicon. Yep, that is certainly a number. Um, I guess this is the joke where we make where our show is old enough to drink, but that's not actually true because 21st season isn't 21 years. Do want to get that out of the way right here and now. Anyway, do wish we were coming in under better circumstances, but alas, during the break, our tech guy, Petty Fan, caught himself a case of the COVID. So, thankfully, it's not super serious. Thank you, modern day vaccination. Um, and the not dying it brings on. But with that in mind, he was too sick to review his game or really be speaking much tonight. Um, but not sick enough where he couldn't power the tech. So that is why we have an episode suite at all this week. So with that in mind, um, three games up this week for review. The first of which is called Miniatures. Miniatures is a collection of strange tales where childhood imagination and reality merge with darker undercurrents of mystery and magic. Explore a vast seascape, build odd furniture, feed a lizard, and play with sand castles. I'm like, and that's actually a pretty good overview of the four. I can't even call them all mini like adventures. Like some of them are actual like point and click adventure games. Some of them, looking at you, furniture building one, like you literally point and click at things with no real puzzle solving. I'm like, though the extent of puzzle solving in this package is very basic, let's say, but that's not the point. Like, this is about as close to the bone as you can get to being a walking simulator without being a walking simulator. That is to say, it's got the nominal currents of gameplay in that point and click is a recognized form of gameplay, has been since the late 80s, but you know, its application is very route, and it's done in service to not even the narrative, to the environment, because the stories being told here are very curious things, as noted in the marketing blurb here. It's aimed at kids, but it's got an edge of darkness, depending on the tale. So, like, some more literally dark than others. Like, you got a lot of black um, environments, which is propped up against some very stark colorizations. That's the lizard one, for example. Uh, and outside of that, there's not really all that much to talk about. Um, without getting into spoilers. See, the thing is, I'm not exactly sure if you can spoil this because the endings aren't really endings. That is to say, they end on ambiguous situations. Though I will say a couple of them don't exactly end on happy dispositions, let's say. Oh, very much not good tidings or tides. That's a good way of putting it, Sergeant. It is like a weird animated indie movie with art house pretensions. Um, but like I said, it's kind of weirdly trying to bend itself towards a kid audience. Um, the thing is, I'm not sure how interested kids would be in something like this. I'm not saying that kids wouldn't, in general, be interested in this collection of tales, but I feel like um, it'd be a particular version of a child. Um, like I have a hard time seeing my niece or nephews being interested in this. Like they would get bored very quickly. Like mainly because there's a pronounced lack of explosions. Maybe my niece would take to this. I honestly don't know, but my nephews are very much very typical boys, let's say. Um, right now, very, very obsessed about Marvel and superheroes. So I'm not exactly sure if they could take something that's this restrained and quiet. You know, like I imagine this is the kind of thing that kid me would have liked. You know,
I suppose that is a rough thing for entertainment for children these days, how branded everything has gotten.
um, yeah, yeah, it is. I'm not even sure what to call it because when it comes to dealing with children, I have very much an outsider's perspective because the kids I deal with are not mine, and I very much did
Hmm.
not want to have children for a lot of reasons. But I feel like that's getting off point here. Like you know, gameplay wise, they might have been fine because it's something that would be very amiable to a touchscreen. I've brought this up on the show before because that's very much their world. That's their world of video games. They play Minecraft on a smartphone, on a tablet, and that's not unusual. Like in a few years, I'm pretty sure my oldest nephew will make the jump to Fortnite on a smartphone. Um, that kind of thing. So, the environment that this game is being put out um, isn't really conducive to children finding it on their own. But that's not a surprise because the mobile scene is very cutthroat, and having something like this breakthrough was just not going to happen. Like, um, now, if you're not a child, can you still enjoy this? I'd say probably more so if you're not a kid. Depending on the tale, um, the forest and lizard chapters are probably the ones that the adults will get the most enjoyment and fulfillment out of. The furniture chapter, um, it's a bit too simple, and I mean that in all aspects. Dark, the literal creeping darkness aside, and the instruments with the creatures on the beach. That's the one that I think the kids will enjoy the most up into the ending. Um, I guess to spoil the ending here, let's just say bad things happen at the end as the tides come in. So it's a very curious, it's a very interesting set. Um, I did have the children over for Thanksgiving. I could have tested this with them, but honestly, didn't really feel like it because, you know, I'm not looking to evaluate this through the lens of children, even if it might be meant for children. I'm going to rely on my own judgment here. And ultimately, I'm going to say a cautious yes. If you want to have a child play this, um, probably best to do a, play along, as in you let the kid play, but you're there to kind of guide and explain the darker things if you can, because like I said, the furniture chapter, it's kind of the inscrutable, all-consuming kind of darkness. Not sure if you can explain that. Like, um, and as it so happens, this game is very short. Um, Probably going to spend at most about an hour and a half. In fact, the playtime clocked is usually about 45 to 90 minutes. So it's got that going for it. Or actually, the average playtime recommended by the game here is 30 to 45 minutes. Um, in fairness, you can play each chapter over and over again. And also, to answer this particular question, no, if you play all four chapters, a hidden bonus fifth chapter does not unlock. Also, there are no collectibles or bonus features. It's just the four tales, and that's it. In fact, what happens when you beat all four installments is the opening box, it just closes, signifying that it is the end of the game. Anyway, so in terms of pricing,
So not a ton of replay value then either.
no, no, and that gets into the problems I have with the pricing, because this game is clocking in at a whopping $6, $5.99. No, I can admire the craftsmanship on display here because um, it's a wildly artistic game that happens to be clocking in at a half an hour to 45 minutes by its own estimations. And I don't think it justifies $6. Literally half that. Maybe $4. A dollar a chapter would have been the maximum I would have gone here. You might see it splitting hairs, but with with a content package this thin, every dollar counts. And it's not cheap enough to where I can say, you know, it's in the cup of coffee zone, even with today's prices. It's like if you're spending $6 on a cup of coffee, that means you're getting some of the more expensive shit at Starbucks. Also worth noting that there is a soundtrack available for $3.99. Trying to remember if there was a soundtrack. Kind of tells you how notable that was. Anyway, so yeah, this is a bit hard to review and pin down because I'm like, on the one hand, it's very creative and expressive, but on the other hand, it's really short and a bit of a thin package. And I think that the latter kind of overwhelms the former, as well as, its suitability towards kids being a bit dicey. Like, so call it a wash. Right. So any questions, comments, or concerns over miniatures here?
I don't think so.
All right, then. So that'll about do it for this game. Be sure to tune in after the break as the Golics reviews Heightgeist.